Now, if anybody wants this piece, it will be on my eBay on the 31st of August. However, let me tell you something about it. I'll show you instead. Look at the state of it. Ooh, look at that. I know. I put it down on some paint that I was mixing to get a certain colour, and didn't realise I've rubbed it off. It'll be alright. That would be on my eBay 31st of August, which is about the time that you'll probably see this video, I expect. Okay, it's serious video this is. It's serious video time. And I hope this video goes some way to helping some people. 2 people have asked for this video, and there's 2 other people private messaged me over the last maybe 6 months, something like that, and I believe they possibly may benefit from this video. So I'm just going to talk really. For those that are not interested, then, you know, go away, come back another day. But I'm going to be talking about mental illness, but I'm particularly going to be talking, or only talking really, about dysthymia, which is a thing that I've got, and I was diagnosed with dysthymia. I think I was about 20, 21. I honestly can't remember now. It's a long time, isn't it really? So I've had dysthymia and been, I think, managing dysthymia since about 1982, 81, 82. Not very good at maths, so 1982, 92, 2002, 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 35 years. Now, 35 years does not make me an expert at all, because it is different for everybody. Now, I'm having a fag, I'm having a Slurpee. It's quite early in the morning because it's going to be a bloody boiling hot day. Shouldn't complain, should we? So it's probably going to be quite a long video this really, so as I say, if you're interested then stick with it, if not I'll see you another day. Okay then, so I will put my glasses on because I made a few notes, I don't want to get things wrong. Now, dysthymia, I'm not really going to go through the list of symptoms and stuff like that. You can do that yourself. If you Google dysthymia, there must be websites on it. There must be something on dysthymia. There's got to be. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about dysthymia. Dysthymia it's a low-level depression, but it's there constantly. To be diagnosed with dysthymia, you must have had this low-level depression for a minimum, absolute bare minimum of 2 years for an adult, or 1 year for a child, but we're talking about adults because I'm an adult. So for many years prior to my diagnosis, I'm not sure I knew what happiness was, and I didn't think that I understood happiness on the level that other people understood happiness. And what do I mean by that? When you're a child, Christmas and birthdays are obviously very exciting. I didn't really enjoy them, and I grew to dislike them in my 20s and onwards, and now I just don't bother. And that's wrong for a child, isn't it? You know, I was happy certain times, and I still am. My happiness perhaps doesn't reach the level of happiness that other people kind of get to. Not to say it's all bad, you know, because that is just part of me. I just thought, you know, that's part of me and that was it really, you know. I've always been a deep thinker, and particularly when I was a child I was a deep thinker as well really, you know. I thought, what's the point, you know, why bother going to school, you know, and then teachers are lying to me and they wanted to control me. I was a bit of an unruly child. In lots of ways really. To my mum, bless her. but especially to school teachers, authority, and I still am. That's just within me. It's got nothing to do with dysthymia, that's just kind of within me. So we look at these personality traits and we just assume, okay, Bry's a bit belligerent, a bit naughty, okay, a bit down, um, you know, whatever, a bit quiet. And all these things, it's not a diagnosis, it's just a personality trait, isn't it, really? But when you start looking into things, when you start thinking, I wonder, is there something wrong with me, you know? And that's kind of the level, when I was 14, 15, maybe 16, I started to think like that. Is there something wrong with me? You know, I always found school a struggle, didn't want to be there. And I always found work a struggle, didn't want to be there. And a lot of it is that I don't want to be with people. And that remains with me still. I function better on my own. I can comprehend this life and understand things better on my own than I can with like a group of people. So for me, life is easier on my own. And that's an odd thing in itself, isn't it? Because most people are desperate to go and find a partner to live with. And, you know, if that relationship fails, they're on the search instantly, as if they're only half a person. I feel whole on my own. When I'm in a relationship, I feel that I've got to give some of myself away. I'm no longer whole. That's how I feel. And of course it's different for everybody, but for me that just works. And it might not work for others. And clearly it doesn't, you know. I look around me and I see couple after couple after couple after couple. And if it works for them, it works for them. Okay, so dysthymia. As I say, it's a low level depression. It's kind of worse than depression, I think, as we just know, like clinical depression or whatever. I think it's worse than that because most forms of depression come and go. Although they're severely debilitating and they're awful, you know, when somebody gets severely depressed, sometimes they can get suicidal and, you know, it's terrible for them. I totally understand that, totally get that. This video, I'll just say this once now, but this is only about me. It's not advice for anybody. Parts of it may seem like advice, but it's not advice for anybody. It's just purely about me. And I'm going to mention all sorts, including anxiety and depression and suicide and all sorts. And if that upsets or offends, I'm very sorry, but you know, this is about me and my dysthymia. So the reason why I think it's worse is because it's there all the time. Just all the time, you know. I've got... It's difficult for me. I know that with a lot of people with dysthymia, in fact, I say a lot of people, only 4% of people in the world, well, between 3 and 4% of people in the world have dysthymia, so it's actually quite rare, really, I suppose. But for me, I feel low most of the time. You don't see it because I manage it, and I'll tell you all about that in a bit. You know, I'm happy and I do have a good life, but I'm happy on my terms. I have a good life on my terms. Everything has to be my way. It must be, you know. But why is it worse? It's worse because it's always there. Always. The only way I can quantify it is a group of people were walking down this long straight road, 100-mile road. We're all walking along. 90% of those people will walk along in just a t-shirt, a pair of shorts and a nice loose pair of trainers. That's it. Free as they like. A few of those people will be walking along like that, and then all of a sudden they get this huge depression, a huge bag of depression, and that's put on their shoulders and they've got to carry it. And each step it gets heavier and heavier and bigger till they just can't cope. With dysthymia, we've got the t-shirt, we've got the shorts, and we've got the trainers. But the trainers are really heavy. They're a bit like kind of metal boots, you know. So we're struggling really, just struggling to keep up all the time, constantly. It's not something that comes and goes, it's constant. Now, I can contradict myself there because I can say it doesn't come and go. Some people with dysthymia, I'm only talking about myself, but some people with dysthymia, they they may feel a very low ebb for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then it kind of dissipates, it lifts, it goes, and they're free of it for a while, maybe for a month, maybe for 2 months, if they're lucky. Then it comes on again. Now for me, it works slightly different because we are all different. I'm never free of it, never, but I get times where it's much easier to handle, much easier to manage. It's hardly there, but it is there. But it is hardly there. It's never actually gone away totally. I'd love it to, but it's never gone away. And for me, I'll talk about double depression in a bit as well. I get towards double depression. I've just recently, again, you don't even see it, not really, but I've just recently done that. I just had a dip, and I did make a couple of videos, and I said in one, what is the point of life? Do I want to continue my life living the way I am? And you know, I was quite down and stuff like that really, and even though my words were quite down, inside I was very, very down. But obviously, you know, that's lifted now, much, much better, and I feel great, you know, but I feel great on my level, so I still feel mildly depressed at all times. It's so difficult that you can't really explain it. I suppose the analogy of wearing the metal boots where everybody else around me is wearing trainers, does that make any sense? You know, or, I mean, everything's a struggle. Take a normal day. A person is asleep in bed, they wake up, they remove their very, very light duvet. For me, I wake up and I remove a very heavy duvet. That's how it feels, you know. And then I walk in here, a person will just pop in here, pop the kettle on, have some toast, and I have to get going, and my head is heavy inside. My brain is heavy. Right now my brain is very heavy inside. You know, and that person, they go through their life and, you know, through their day rather, and yeah, they pop down the shops and they do this and they do that. Now I struggle with certain things, and we get onto that as well. I said it would be a long video, and you won't believe what I struggle with. But I do struggle, and it is a struggle, but I manage, but it's a struggle. Okay, so that's kind of set the scene, hasn't it, really? To get an understanding of dysthymia, as I say, go to Google or whatever, and go to a medical website, and you get a much, much better understanding of what I'm going to give you, because I'm not going to give you anything really. I know it on my level and my level only, and that's it really. And it's been there, like I say, 35 years, so it's not going away. You have to excuse me or not, couldn't care less. But I'm having a fag, having a Slurpee. Only been awake an hour. Dysthymia. So dysthymia then is dysthymia, dysthymia, if you do want to Google it. It was first identified in 1980, and I was diagnosed, well, I was one of the first actually, because I was diagnosed, I think in 81, I think it was. So now because the medical professionals have got to be paid, they keep chopping and changing names, and it's ridiculous, really. Dysthymia is dysthymia. A broken leg is a broken leg. You know, but now they call it something different. So they call it persistent depressive disorder, right? So everybody can say dysthymia, and then everybody would now trip up the new lingo of persistent depressive disorder. See, I just did, I fucked it up. Anyway, so they've now changed that again to PDD. So it's been changed 3 times now. It's pathetic. It's dysthymia, that's what it is, you know. If you've done a little bit of research and you think that this may be you, it could possibly be you, while you're doing some research, also research these things, really, because it's worth a read. A cyclothymic disorder is a low-level bipolar, really. Obviously, bipolar is a depressive symptom, or illness, whatever you want to call it. So it's worth looking at that one as well. Cyclothymic, CYCLOTHYMIC, CYCLOTHYMIC. Also, anhedonia. All right, now anhedonia is the ability to enjoy things that you usually find enjoyable. So a lot of these things are connected with dysthymia. So anhedonia, as I say, is the inability, so in other words, the inability to enjoy things that you once enjoyed. So an interest, a hobby, your job, I don't know, whatever. It just changes, it flips, you know, and you just don't enjoy it anymore. And that can be connected with dysthymia. For me, it's not, because I know myself on a very deep level, and I know what I do like and what I do enjoy. Things connected with dysthymia, obviously social anxiety as well. There's avolition. Now, avolition is pulling away from school and work and hobbies, etc. I've always pulled away from things I don't enjoy. So AVOLITION, avolition. Have a look at that, avolition. I made a video a little while ago about weddings. I won't ever go to another wedding. With my dysthymia, and I'm sure it is my dysthymia, I end up looking forward to the wedding, and when I go, I just want to come back home after about 5 seconds. So I won't go again. And it's the same with work, the same with school, same with anything major that I've got to go to or whatever. I might really want to go, and then when I'm there, I don't really want to be there. But yeah, that's avolition, or avolition, whatever you want to call it. But it's pulling away from things. Obviously, they say hobbies. I don't pull away from my hobbies because I know what works. And then there's double depression, which is dysthymia. And when you've been suffering or managing or whatever you want to call it, with dysthymia for quite some time, often you get a lull, which I've just mentioned, you know, where I drop. And that is double depression. So you fall into a depression, but you've got dysthymia as well, so it is a double depression, it's called. And I've had that a couple of times, but I have a way of dealing with it, understanding it and managing it. I know when I'm starting to drop, and then I think, okay, I know where I am now. I'm just coming down, I know where I am. So what can I do? Well, let's lift myself back up. It's a hell of a struggle with these metal boots on and this heavy duvet. And that's how I am every single day of my life. I struggle a bit more than the ordinary person, if anybody's ordinary. Okay, so the causes of dysthymia, really, it's unknown actually, the causes, to be quite honest. But the stab in the dark idea of the causes, as you know, I've studied psychology, so the stab in the dark is about illness and trauma. Now, an illness can be as simple something like flu can cause dysthymia, or chickenpox or measles or any of the childhood sort of things that children clearly go through. But there's also the trauma aspect of it, and it could be a low level trauma, so it could be starting school, it could be being bullied at school perhaps. So a low level trauma can actually bring on and manifest this sort of dysthymia, which is, dysthymia is a mood disorder. So you're getting along quite fine really, and then things happen and you start, oh, like that. It's a bit like a seesaw, and it weighs you down on one end, and when you get weighed down, you get weighed down a bit more and a little bit more, Yeah, trauma. So it could even be starting school or leaving school. And in adulthood, it could be things like divorce, or the loss of a parent, changing jobs, moving house, redundancy, money worries, whatever it may be. Health problems can bring on dysthymia as well. While I'm talking about health, I'll turn this camera off and turn it back on in a minute, because I know I've probably been rambling on for a while. While I'm talking about health, things are often connected as well, obviously. The knee bone is connected to the thigh bone, is connected to the hip bone, Because I've got dysthymia, I've got insomnia. Now, because I don't sleep very well, that means my pain levels, because I've got osteoarthritis, they feel greater because I don't sleep very well. Sometimes I don't sleep very well because of the dysthymia. Dysthymia is a funny old thing with sleep, really. And if you've done your research, then you'll know that with dysthymia, sometimes you either sleep a lot or you hardly sleep. Sometimes you eat a lot or you hardly eat. It's a very woolly, very grey area, really, is dysthymia. But there are some good things on the web, and they will really pinpoint, bang, 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 like that. I believe, same as most psychological disorders, there's probably maybe a 10-point checklist, and if you've got 6 of those, then you've got dysthymia. So, I don't know because I haven't looked, but I would imagine that's on there, because it is with most things. But yeah, as I say, my insomnia makes my pain level worse, but my dysthymia keeps me awake. So it's this circle, really, this kind of circle of shit. Okay, I'll turn the camera off and turn it back on, and then we can get on to managing and stuff like that. Back in a sec. Hello again. Okay, so that's I've just turned the camera off and on, so we've got another 15 minutes ish. Now it's up to each individual person to find out who they are, what they are, and understand everything about how their brain works. Not the brain like I've studied, which is psychology, but your brain, right? So how my brain works. And my brain works differently to your brain and to everybody else's brains. That's how we are. That's what gives us an ego. That's what gives us a personality. That's what gives us a sense of being. That's what gives us the interest to other people. So we may be a good singer, or good at art, or might be a nice person, or a sportsman, whatever, So my brain, your brain, so understand that, really. Understand your brain on a very, very deep level. Understand your triggers, understand your emotions, understand why you're feeling like that, and how. What can you do about it? What do you really enjoy, not what you think you enjoy. Because I thought I used to enjoy things years ago, and I just did them, really, and it didn't work. It does now, because I'm much older, and I understand myself now. So yeah, to manage, okay, so this will surprise you then, my managing aromatherapy, right? I don't really do aromatherapy, but then I suppose I do in a roundabout way, because we all like smells. Fresh bread being cooked, lovely for me. The smell of bacon, for me. Freshly mown lawn, grass, for me. Things like that. But for me, my own personal smells, this is 35 years of dysthymia, patchouli. Patchouli just works on a magical level with me. The second I start to feel slightly down, I put a little drop of patchouli on. And do you know what? I'm happy. Literally instantly, within a second or two, the smell of patchouli lifts my spirit. It absolutely lifts my spirit. Another one is nag champa, which is an incense that I burn fairly regular really. I burn it because I like it, I burn it because it smells nice, I burn it because it makes me feel chilled. And it makes me feel happy again, that smell. So nag champa. But again, it's knowing your brain, knowing yourself on a deep, deep level to know what works, because what I'm saying is right for me, it might not be right for you. So you may go and buy some patchouli oil, put it on you and go, bloody hell, that stinks. I got it on now. I wear it probably 80% of the time. For me, what works is music. I love music, dearly love music. Art, I love. I love poetry, nature, sunshine, sweet things. Yeah, a nice bit of cake or chocolate or whatever. Meditation works for me a lot of the time. Puts me on a level, a nice, even, gentle level. A lot of people say that I'm very, very laid back. I'm very calm, very, I don't know, whatever. No, I'm only that really because of the meditation that I do. That's the only reason. Otherwise I'd be all over the place, I'm sure. I don't think I said this, but it was Paul Rowe asked the question. Paul Rowe said he'd like to know my experiences of dysthymia and how I manage it. And then John Esau popped on and said, yeah, I was going to ask the same, Bri. And they both thought maybe it was too personal for me. It is, depends on what I tell you and stuff like that, really. So let me just tell you about my dysthymia and how sometimes I get. I've thought all of my life, what is the point of life? There is no point of life. There really is no point of life, and I've still got that in me now. I don't understand it. We're born and we suffer greatly in lots of ways, and then we die. Oh, what was the point of that then? And that is because I don't have the happiness level of a lot of people. A lot of people go through their life and they're born, they suffer, they get loads of happiness and then they die. So their happiness level is bubbly, bubbly, bubbly. And mine is the undercurrent happiness level, really, which obviously it doesn't mean that you're miserable, it doesn't mean that you're dowdy or whatever. There's just a level of sadness actually that runs through me. And I think that's the only word that I can use is sadness, really. I'm just being nosy, I keep looking out the bloody window, don't I? Now, I have got down a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, about different things really. When I was a child, my mum left home to get divorced, and it was a massive shock for everybody. It was a Saturday, and she'd given us a few pence. That's what it was in them days. And me and my brother, we caught the bus. We lived in a village. We caught the bus. We went to the local town, and we went swimming for the day. And my mum gave us enough money to go to catch the bus, to pay to go swimming, to buy a bag of crisps, and to buy a Panda Pop, which is a little fizzy drink like lemonade or whatever. So we could have a drink, we could have something to eat, and the bus there and back, and obviously the price of getting in. And we went and we had a whale of a time, and it was great and all the rest of it. But the memory is so fresh in my mind, and it still it upsets me when I think about it. I try not to think about it. But when we came home, the house was different. There was a lot of things missing, and my mum wasn't there. And there was a note on the mantelpiece in an envelope with my so-called father's name on it. And he read it, and I don't know where we all were, but he gathered all us kids together and he said, I've got to read you this. And it was a letter from my mum. And I was a little boy, I think I was 11. I think I was 11. Yeah. And I remember every word of it still. And it was awful. Terrible. And without deliberating on this too much, but I went through a period of time where I kind of grieved for my mum. I didn't know if I'd ever see my mum again, you know. And I loved her dearly and I missed her every day and I was very upset and teary and all the rest of it. Lots of bad things happened, but I got blamed by a couple of people in the family because I was a bit of a naughty boy. Two people said mum left because of you. I now know obviously that's not true. But of course, if you're told that, then that's all you've got to go on, so that's all you've got to believe. So that was awful. But I didn't see my mum for about a year, and in that time I didn't know if she was alive or dead, and I started to get very confused in my head because I thought maybe my dad had killed her and had written that note himself. And that's very difficult for a child of 11 to put up with, to think about, and to carry those thoughts around with you, you know. So as a psychologist, I now believe that my dysthymia started then. I believe that that was the trauma that caused it. Although saying that, prior to that, I was never overly happy with certain things that I should have been happy with. But it was much worse after that. So I think that's where it came from with me. And as I said, I keep saying the same, but know yourself on a deep, deep level. Think back, you know. So that's, for me, that's where I believe it started from. Now, I've had a few times where I've been very nearly suicidal. And that's because I've been going through the double depression. I haven't understood it, I haven't managed it, I haven't been able to handle it. And you're so low that you cannot come back. And then something else happens and you get more piled on and even more. What's the point? You know, there's no point in living anymore, you know. But you know, here I am to live the tale, tell the tale. But you do manage, you know, most things are manageable. That's what I've found in life, really. It doesn't matter how hard they are, they're still manageable. Now, I did say in a video a long time ago about everything is temporary. Dysthymia isn't temporary because it's there forever. But if we look at my dysthymia in relation to how long the planet's been here, then it's very, very temporary. So everything is temporary, everything, you know. And my downtimes don't last too long. My real downtimes don't last very long. My little blips don't last very long. So everything is temporary, you know, just hold on. You know, I say that to everybody really, no matter what they're going through, hold on, you know. You see the famous people that have died recently that have committed suicide, you know, and they've been depressed, and sometimes for a very, very short time, but it's so severe they cannot carry on. Had they had waited another 6 months, you know, their life would have been very, very different. So it is worth getting help, no matter what you're going through. And we can talk about the treatment in a second, really. But yeah, talk about it and discuss it and go and see your doctor. Go and have a chat. You know, it's not something that you have to just put up with on your own. I do, because I don't really like antidepressants. So I've got different ways of managing. You find, after all my time, you do find times of managing as well, really, you know. So that's at my worst. I felt quite suicidal at times. I feel like I don't fit with this world. I don't understand this world. I don't want to be part of this world. That could be lots of different things, so I'm not going to put it all down to dysthymia. I have got a belligerent attitude. I am a bit gnarly. I am against society, the system. I feel very much awake on this planet. I do understand what's going on. I really understand what's going on, and therefore that puts me into quite a lonely position. Not slagging people off, but you know, I find myself walking amongst people who are kind of zombified. They'd rather just look at their phone than think about what's going on. They haven't got a clue. You know, you ask them things, why'd you go to work? And they say, I don't know. You know, or whatever, you know, it could be a million things really, you know, that's not really my dysthymia. Maybe it's partly, who knows, you know, but I do feel very much awake. So that puts me in a weird place, but I just feel, I think I'm an outsider. I think I've always been an outsider, and I always will until my dying days, really. I cannot understand how people function on this planet and be controlled and treated like shit, and they just accept it. I don't understand that at all. So I've worked all of my life to step out of it. I've worked all of my life to say bollocks to the system. I do things my way, for me, my terms. Is that dysthymia? I don't think it is. I think that's just my belligerence. I think that's my fuck you attitude. That's what I think it is, more than anything. And that's going to continue. You know, why would it ever leave me? I can only function on this planet being me, being real, being truthful. That's the only way I can function on this planet. I can't do the same as everybody else. I can't accept the bullshit. Just can't do it. Okay, so um, thank you very much, Paul Rowe, and also to John Esau. So Paul's question really was my experiences. Well, that's my experiences of it, of dysthymia, and how I manage it. So how do I manage it? I manage it in lots of different ways, don't I? I find what works for me. What works is nature. Sunshine, Mr. Solarface, right? On a nice, beautiful sunny day, I can feel inside I'm up a level. When I'm doing my art, I only do it when I'm in a good mood. And do you know that it puts me in an even better mood? Sometimes when I'm working on a piece of art, I also put some gentle music on that I love. And if the sun is shining and I'm doing my art and the music's on, do you know what I mean? So that's how I manage. I find all these things and I layer all these things that work for me, loveliness upon loveliness like that. And I build it up and build it up and build it up. You know, that's what I do. As I say, there are antidepressants. That is the first thing you'll be offered when you go and see a doctor. That's the first thing. And that's all well and good, and they do work. I believe in attacking everything with everything. That's what I believe. So what I mean by that is CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy. I believe it works for everything. Absolutely, you know, and no matter what, see your doctor and ask about CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, and attack it on every level. If you need a short-term lot of antidepressants, fine, go for them, you know. But combine that with a CBT. Do combine it, and you'll really understand yourself on a deep level. But you'll see this freeing that happens. You won't see it just by taking antidepressants. Now, with all psychological disorders, I think it's important not to keep mentioning it over and over and over again. The more you talk about something, the more it is just becomes you. You become it. Without it, what are you? So if somebody's suffering from anxiety, they keep on mentioning anxiety, anxiety, anxiety all day, every day, to every single person they meet. So they become this big bundle of anxiety, and in fact they become anxiety. You might as well, if their name's Mary, get rid of Mary and just call her anxiety. Morning anxiety, just call her that, because this big bubble is anxiety, because you mention it so many times. And the less you mention it, you open up this little crack, and you know, the real you starts to shine through and stuff like that. It may be difficult sometimes for some people, but I would suggest that you don't keep on mentioning it. So what, I was diagnosed with dysthymia? So what? Does it matter? No, not really. If I mention it, does it matter? No, not really. Will it go away if I mention it? No. I'll tell you what it will do. If I keep on mentioning it, it'll be right at the forefront of my mind, and that could cause me problems. There's a woman on YouTube, and you know, she's been struggling, American lady, she's been struggling, and I gave her some advice, and do you know what, she wants to be, this sounds awful, she wants to be this big ball of anxiety, because without it, what is she? She's forgotten who she is, what she once was. And I gave her some advice, and she said, maybe. That was the only response. I thought, yeah, because you're now anxiety. You've lost your name. You're just anxiety. And I could be just dysthymia or just depression. You can be just anything, can't you, really? We're multifarious. We're all sorts of things, really. Our personalities are multifarious as well. We can pick and take and choose and leave. And, you know, you could grab and put them all in the bag and shake them up, see what suits you on a particular day and stuff like that, you know. So not to keep mentioning it over and over again, you know. Changing tack, I did read something lovely on Facebook. It said it is possible to be a vegan and not mention it. Do you know, every vegan I know just talks about veganism again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And because they talk about it so often, in the end nobody hears it, nobody listens. It just becomes this like that. There's not even any words out, it's just a noise. You know, and sometimes you can get that with religious people when they're ultra religious, and they talk about religion non-stop, and eventually it just becomes this blur that nobody ever listens to. And that's a little bit with dysthymia, it's a little bit with anxiety, depression, whatever, really. The more you talk about it, the less people actually listen, you know. I'm not saying that they don't care, but people just switch off, really, because it becomes, I suppose it's boring, actually. To talk to somebody, what should we say, ordinary, normal, whatever, and just mention depression, yeah, they go, yeah, whatever. It's boring, because they don't understand, they don't want to understand. Hello! An hour later, and obviously the camera died, if you didn't work that out. Turned into a really hot day. So, to finish this off then, I mentioned earlier that I was going to tell you about some of the things that I struggle with. And I was going to tell you that in kind of part 2, and then I got, you know, my brain moved on a gear and we went somewhere else. Excuse the noise, bloody grass cutting. They do this as soon as somebody leaves the site, oh, must cut the grass. They've got nothing better to do. It's that long. He's buggering off now, by the looks of it, to empty. Dogs are barking next door. Now, obviously we're never sure of what's causing what, whether it's dysthymia rather causing something or not. I've got lots of little quirky ways, same as we all have. I'll tell you one of the things I struggle with, and I really do struggle with this, and I will use that word, struggle, and it is making phone calls. That's pathetic, isn't it? It sounds ridiculous. If I'm going to phone a friend of mine, then that's fine, no problem. If I'm going to phone for a nice reason, no problem. If I'm going to deal with officialdom in some way, that's a real problem. A real problem. Now imagine I'm phoning up to inquire about a property to rent, or I'm phoning up to get my some results, blood test results from the hospital. Or I'm phoning up to ask about an interview for a job. So something, fairly official, that sort of thing. I struggle with it. I have many a time sat at 9 o'clock in the morning and thought, right, I must make this phone call now. I'm going to phone so-and-so, so-and-so. Oh, I'll just make a coffee first. So I make a coffee, and then it's about 10:15, and I think, right, I'm going to phone this person. I'll just have a quick fag. So I have a fag, and then I think, well, I'll have my lunch, right, and then I'll phone this person. I must phone. I said I'd phone today, and I will do. So I'll have my lunch, and then I sit here and I think, right, no, I'm going to phone so-and-so. I'll just have a quick coffee first. So I have another Slurpee, and then before I know it, I'm thinking, okay, it's 4 o'clock. Okay, I won't phone just now. They shut at 5. Okay, I'll give it half an hour. I'll phone at 4:30 on the dot. And then at 4:30, I'm sat here and I'm thinking, right, if I leave it 15 minutes, okay, I'll do that, I'll leave it. I'll phone at 4:45 because they shut at 5. And you know what I do? I phone at 4:58 all day long. And I struggle with that, and it sounds ridiculous and what have you, but if you look at it on a psychological level, I don't want to be brought down in my mood levels any more than I possibly already do, sometimes perhaps bring myself down. So I don't want any more bad news via that phone call. That's why I'm leaving things to the very last minute. And that's now become quite a big thing with me, so I'm always perhaps expecting the worst, and then I'm pleasantly surprised when it's reasonable news or whatever. So that's one of the things I struggle with. I'm going to put the glasses on. I wrote a few notes. Yeah, so I just leave phone calls to the last second. Now, another thing that I struggle with, and that is I read too much into things. And things have a huge impact on me. I can't tell you just how hurt I feel inside sometimes. And it can, again, on the surface it sounds ridiculous, right? If I meet somebody, say I met, I don't know, a family member or whatever, and I haven't seen them for a while and we're having a nice chat and it's all good, and he says, okay, I've got to go to work soon or whatever, and I say, yeah, fine, whatever, we'll meet soon or whatever. And then he goes, see ya, and off he goes. No, I don't worry about that, but that hurts me. I don't know if I can ever even explain it, what it means. But for days after, I feel at a low ebb because of that. And what was I expecting? Well, actually, all I'm probably expecting is that person to say, right, I've really got to go. It's been great seeing you. You're looking well, you're sounding good, and I wish you all the very best. And I'm sorry I've got to end this conversation now, but take good care, or I love you, or see you then, rather than just see it and turn and walk away. And I kind of worry about that. And it's ridiculous. It can drag my mood right down, Now please, if you're going to meet me, don't stand outside fucking waving for 10 minutes saying, I love you, I love you. Alright, because I'll punch you straight in the fucking face. The other thing is lethargy, apathy. When I've got things to do, you know, I mean, this is a bit of a pickle. I've been on this site a fortnight and I need to tidy up to move. And I was going to do it yesterday. Yesterday morning, I made up my mind, right, that's it, I'm going to do it. All day went and I didn't do it. So here we are this morning and I thought, right, today is the day. Have I done it? No. I get quite lethargic, I'm full of apathy really, you know. I know a little bit of that is to do with some of the meds that I'm on, particularly with the heart medication and what have you. So I can only do little and often stop start, it's little bursts and little naps or sit downs, things like that. But also that's kind of a recognisable trait with dysthymia, is that we've got a kind of a lethargy around us, you know. So I struggle with that, and also then in turn, now that winds me up that I haven't, sorry, text message, that winds me up that you know, things haven't been done, and it's only me I got to blame. The other thing I struggle with, and I've always done this, I have mentioned it, but it's living like other people. I don't understand it. I feel like an alien on this planet. I really do. Like everybody accepts that this is just the norm. This is, it's just the way it is. And I question why. Why? Why does it have to be that way? I don't understand it. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but there's a million things I really don't understand. Just don't understand. But also I only understand life on my terms, you know, my level. Because I don't read the newspaper, listen to the radio or watch television, I haven't for 20 odd years, I think it's 24 years or 28 years, it's a long time. I'm quite insular, I know myself and I know me and my place on this earth, but I don't really fully understand what's going on a certain level. I am fully awake and I know what's going on deep down. With the government and with lots of different things, I know all that. There's a lot of these sort of surface type things that people just take for granted that I don't, because I don't even understand them. And that can cause some inner conflict, which again can bring you down. But to end the video, it's to know your triggers. If you've got depression, even anxiety, dysthymia, whatever you've got, to understand yourself on a deep level, to know your triggers and to know how to bring yourself out. Just lift yourself up a little bit. It only takes one step. And once you're up a little bit, you can only go up more. Sadly, it's exactly the same on the way down. One step can bring you right the way down. Know yourself. Know your triggers. Know what works for you. Understand your brain, the way your brain works. How you function on this planet, in society, how you deal with things on your level. And it's all about knowing yourself, really. You know, I don't mean that in a condescending, patronising way, because people say, well, of course I bloody know myself. Actually, you don't. It's taken me 35 years. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. So I do know my triggers. At least I know my triggers. And I do know certain ways how to lift myself out of it. It's a funny thing, you know, dysthymia is a funny thing, but so is anxiety, PTSD, ADHD, bipolar, any form of depression, any psychological disorder is a funny thing really, because there's so many people. Some manage, there's so many people suffering as well, and they, mostly men, and they will not go to their doctor over it. We've got this bravado, this puffing out your chest thing and what have you. There's nothing to be ashamed about. There's also, just to finalise the video, there's also a lot of bollocks written. So please do your research. There really is a lot of rubbish written about a lot of stuff out there, you know. I would say read 100 pages before you can believe one. It's your brain, it's your life, you've got to deal with you first of all. Before you can deal with whatever is out there, you've got to deal with you. So do your research. And if you have or do get diagnosed with anything whatsoever, it isn't the end of the world. We can always get through, we can always manage things. Most people would never ever know that I have dysthymia. Most people. Yes, I'm mentioning it now, but I don't normally. Normally I'm happy. I know what makes me happy, but the happiness is only on my level, and I'm fully aware, and I do know that happiness is kind of subjective, isn't it, really? Some people are ultra happy. I've got a particular friend in mind, and he just smiles all the time. He's got a good life. He's a happy chap, you know. Everything makes him happy, and good on him, really, and I'm very, very pleased that that is the case. For me, I'm wearing lead boots, so I have to work on my happiness. It's a struggle. I do hope that this has helped in some way. It's probably the longest video I've ever made, but I feel it's important, you know, and 2 people did ask, and I know that many people won't have watched this video, probably actually only 2 people, and I'm fine with that as well. Take care then, and don't worry about anything. Don't allow the label to become all-encompassing. It's not who you are, it's a small part of what you are. Take care, and be well, try and be glorious.